Ladies and gentlemen, we are waiting for one Roger Chang. The one, the only Roger Chang. So there might be more than one Roger Chang. I don't know, but is that a Roger Chang?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
My camera is situated just like yours, off to the side.
That's the East meets West trademark position.
I wonder if I could swap these. How come it won't let me swap the windows on the bottom? Whatever. Lame.
Lame. You ready to go public with our Hangout?
Sure. I won't be able to stay after too long.
Yeah, me either. That's all right. I am posting broadcast video publicly.
Make it public like a library. Like a library. The office today.
You're doing this live.
I'm doing this live. Do it live.
We'll do it live. I'm kind of tired of that meme. It's old. It's done. I'm over it. All right, let me see. What does the Google Plus have to say? Why does it post like 100 million times?
Because it's magic. Magic.
It's magic. So we, let's see. Episode 281.
281. You
ready to record?
I am ready to do something.
All right, here we go. Welcome to East Meets West, episode 281. I'm Tom Merritt.
And I'm Roger Chang.
And this is our second publicly broadcast East Meets West on the Google Hangout channel.
Yes, it's kind of exciting, sort of.
Just kind of. You're at work? What are you doing at work?
Earning a living wage, my friend. Although, you know, considering what things cost in the city, I don't really consider it that much of a living. But you know, hey, it's what I do. Yes, I have long hours in the day just to get things up.
Yeah, but usually you're home by now.
Yes, but on Mondays and Wednesdays are my long days.
Oh, I see.
I'm
usually record on Thursdays, so
yes,
that's the problem.
But no, I like it. I want to try this out to see if it freaks people out if I'm talking.
Oh, you're just trying to annoy your coworkers? Is that it?
No, like 80% of my coworkers are gone. Seraphine is hard at work, working hard.
I might be at your workplace tomorrow.
Uh-oh. Why you got to threaten me that way?
Because you owe me money.
What? Huh?
No, there's some sort of International Academy of Web Television event.
Oh, that's right. So supposedly I can't eat the snacks there because there'll be a limited supply. No chow down for this.
Did they really tell you that? Like, we have snacks here. Please don't touch them. They are for the International Academy of Web Television.
For the guests.
Really?
For the guests. No, I mean, it wasn't explicit. It was just
can you attend the event, though?
Yes, I can attend.
But you can't eat the snacks at the event?
Yes, that's for the guests.
Oh, that's just ridiculous.
No, I can eat them, but it would be gracious of me not to indulge my...
don't eat them all. I think that's wise. That's fair. Don't get in and hog all the stuff.
You know, all right, here's my dark secret. Here's the thing I've actually never told anyone outside of work. When I go to these things at CES, I go to these industry, like it's a product unveiling or something like that, product event. I mostly go for the food because they got a pretty good...
I don't think that's a deep dark secret. I think that's what every person in journalism does.
It's a really, I mean, the sliders, the free booze. I mean, granted, it's all well, but...
You're not even much of a drinker, though.
I know, but it's free. I don't know. It's. Let's just say I'm indulging the position.
But isn't that typical? Isn't that what people expect when they have these big press events or whatever? That it's going to be a bunch of journalistic freeloaders.
Which is why when you go to one where they give you like stale bagels and like crappy like luncheon meat, you're like, dude, this is a really lame. It's like almost like a party. Like if you don't do one that impresses enough people, it's like, yeah, no, it's nice, nice new website, nice new service, nice new doodad, gadget, or whatever, but, your food sucks.
On the one hand, that sounds incredibly ungrateful. Somebody's giving you something for free and you criticize the quality.
Yeah.
On the other hand, looking at it from the perspective of the event thrower, you want to get good coverage, which is why you're doing the event, so you should try to make the press happy.
You catch more flies with a barrel full of honey than you do with a teaspoon of vinegar.
But that's not the way journalism's supposed to work. It's not supposed to be like, I'm covering the people with the best bagels.
Anyone who says journalism is about objectivity, about being
hasn't read Hunter Thompson.
Hasn't really done it, because I've known instances where people wrote not like a glowing review of a product, but like they've written a story and they were kind of favorable because they were friends with someone there. That they've let some sort of personal connection influence the tone of the story. The product, say like a product might be still kind of crappy, but instead of being negative, they just might be skeptical.
Well, and think that's perfectly natural. This is what I took away from reading Hunter S. Thompson when I was in journalism school, is there is no such thing as objectivity. And when we pretend that there is, it makes it worse, because then you can't account for that. What should happen is you should say, like, hey, you know what? I'm covering this product of a friend of mine. And, this is our background together, but this is what I think of the product. Then people see it through that lens. And they're like, okay, this is probably going to be a little nicer because it's his friend. But I can deal with that. And I'm sort of not impressed, but surprised over and over how many people not only like are okay with that sort of thing, but jump to the conclusion that it exists even when it doesn't. So
I think people like to think that way because it somehow means that there's the potential for humanity to be greater than what people normally see.
No, I think you misunderstood. I don't think I said it very well. Most people assume that you're not being objective, even when you are, even when you don't have any conflict. They assume they jump to the conclusion that you do, and they're okay with it if they think they know about it. It's when it's hidden that it usually upsets people. And I think what really turns people off who are pro-objectivity, who say, oh, no, that's a horrible thing. Journalists should be fair and balanced. That's not objectivity. Objectivity is the sort of pursuit of the role of a justice, where you are not swayed by any concerns, including your own, but only meting out the pure facts of the matter. And I think that's actually a pretty naive way of looking at things. The pure facts of the matter change depending on the observer. We bring our own experiences into it. And what I'm saying is not that you shouldn't try to be fair or that you shouldn't try to be balanced, but that you should strive to be so fair and so balanced. And I hate to use those words sometimes because it's a slogan for Fox News. But you should try to be that way so much that you bring in the idea that you are, in fact, bringing your prejudices into a story, and here's what they are, so that the reader can then interpret what you're saying through those prejudices, not because you're flawed, but because everybody has prejudices. So at least let me know what they are.
I think I would go one step further. I think people need to be honest with themselves about that they do have certain biases, that a lot of people like to assume that they can rise above it all, that they're somehow better people. And I think there is an innate level of, I don't know what it is. Maybe it is naivete. Maybe it's just a little maybe a high-mindedness that somehow you're unaffected by the concerns of mere mortals. But everyone carries a bias with them, and you need to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and say, yeah, you know what? I don't like that guy because he's a rural kind of redneck gun-toting guy. But I need to lay that out, first, openly, instead of just saying, like, I'm a journalism major. I came out of Columbia. I know what objectivity is. I know what being a reporter is all. You really need to kind of stand outside of yourself and kind of look at it and look at your practice, because you cannot, you cannot, I think, at least do your job if you can't be honest with yourself.
And I think that is a really good point. And I'll even take that and run with it, because in addition to what I'm saying about making your prejudices known and not trying to hide them, I think you're right. I think you do need to be honest. And I think what a journalist can do best is try to understand and empathize with the other points of view and include them in the story. So it may be like, okay, this is not my only perspective, but here's a side to the story that you might not have considered. Here's an angle on the story to help you understand. Here are some facts that are verifiable, that I can say, I've looked into and have a greater percentage of being true than not, and this will help you to understand the story more. And so that's when you're moving beyond prejudice. I don't consider that objectivity. I think that's what a lot of people mean when they say objectivity. I consider that just being, a good storyteller and saying, you know what, I'm gonna relay to you the sense of the situation without you being there, and that's a skill. That is not about trying to be not in the story. In fact, I think you have to insert yourself into a story to be able to effectively convey it. But it's saying, okay, I'm a black female who believes in climate change, but I'm reporting on a scientific convention about the Large Hadron Collider, and I'm going to tell you what the scientists are saying, what the protesters are saying, what the facts on either side of their cases are, what the opposition to either side of their cases are, and you can decide if you think maybe I'm leaving something out because of my personal bias, but I'm going to do my best to try to include as much of the experience as possible, and if I'm good at it, you'll feel like you have a better understanding of the situation.
It's funny. I'm not sure. I'm sure journalists, or at least newspapers, might not like it. But the comment section on news stories that you find online, in many ways, I find them more illuminating. I find the story more illuminating with those attached, because when you do kind of have that feedback, I think it does give a certain perspective on the events that are written about. One of the things I've always wondered about, though, was because you brought the whole empathy bit, is there has to be a situation where you come across perhaps a people or group of people, whatever, that are so alien in their behavior that you cannot find a way to empathize. Like, sure. You could struggle, you can try to find parallels in your own life that's like, okay, it's kind of like this, but there's something, and this is not to say like they're bad, or it's just a totally foreign concept to you that you cannot relate to.
I don't think there's any human society that it would be impossible to come around to their understanding. You'll never be able to fully get it, but I think if you worked hard and long enough, because you're both human and you both share the generally similar ways of apprehending the universe, you could come to some approximation. But I think certain cultures and certain experiences are much more difficult than others. And so you may not have the perseverance or the time or resources
or the
to
care.
Get to the point where you understand, or the what?
Or care. Or you don't have enough interest.
Well, if you don't care, you're probably not being a journalist in the first place.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Although a car motorist isn't definitely going to be following up on the latest outdoor sportsman or anything like that. I have a question for you. Since you yourself are a cross-state migrant, what made you leave Illinois first to down to Austin and then out to California? Was it just the fact that you had a job waiting or school, or was it something bigger?
Well, okay, I will answer this question gladly, but what brings you to that question?
The reason, so late last week I was reading this Wall Street Journal opinion on the title I have in front of me is called "California's Greek Tragedy." The subline is no one should write off the Golden State, but it will take massive reforms to reverse its economic decline. And essentially, this opinion piece goes through how over the years or over the decades, California has gotten itself into this fiscal hole. And earlier today, Patrick was pointed the story out to me where California is, I'm not sure, 2,000 teachers are getting laid off this week or whatever. And I was just thinking, like, you know, is California what I want to be? If I start thinking about the family and stuff like that, should I be eyeing potential, you know, places somewhere else to live, essentially? And I'm curious to know if people make those decisions purely on a financial thing, or are there other forces at work that push you out?
Every time I have moved from one state to another, and I've lived in 4 states, I have moved because of a very specific reason, not because of a geographical reason. I didn't pick an area and say, that looks like the place for me. I'm moving to Virginia. It was always because I had some opportunity arise in that place. So the first time I ever left Illinois, I moved to Virginia and lived in Arlington because I had an internship in Washington, D.C. I only lived there for 4 months. So I didn't spend quite a long time, and then I moved back to Illinois. When I moved to Texas, to Austin, I moved there because I got into grad school. Now, granted, I applied to grad schools in places that I thought I might want to be, but that was a smaller part of the decision than it was the kind of school that would teach me the things I wanted to learn. So I did sort of shy away from applying to cold weather schools, although I applied to the University of Montana, which is the epitome of a cold weather school. But I liked the town of Missoula. I liked the town of Austin. I applied to a few other places around the country, and I picked Austin because I got in there first, and because it was a very good school, and I liked Austin. So it was all those things combined that brought me to Austin, but it wasn't because I particularly thought Austin was the place I want to be. It was a place I wouldn't mind being and had these other advantages as well. And then when I moved to San Francisco, it was purely because jobs were available there that weren't available in Austin. So I had a friend out here who was saying, like, hey, the jobs are falling for like cherries from the trees. You ought to get out here. And I came out here because I applied for 3 jobs and got all 3 of them. And they were all upgrades over my job that I had at the time and in arenas that I wanted to work in. So I definitely came to San Francisco because that happened to be a place with jobs that I wanted, not because I particularly picked San Francisco. Although, again, I probably wouldn't have moved here if I hated the city. I liked the city. I thought I had a lot of intriguing aspects. But, yeah, I've always moved because the thing that fit most with what I wanted to do existed in that particular place.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn. I mean, I really like California. One, because I was born here, but just I like being next to a large body of salt water. And I cannot stand the humidity, so, the southeast is kind of out. Like, just humid weather makes me feel really gross. Having spent 3 months in Taiwan during this typhoon season versus the cyclone season, it's just not something I want to deal with. But at the same time, I know the state is going through some very, very painful, fiscal issues, and I'm wondering. And
granted, California's problems are a little more acute, but isn't every state? I mean, I can't think of a state I have lived in where they weren't going through horrible fiscal issues at some point when I lived there, and had to lay off teachers, and it sounded like, when I was growing up in Illinois, man, Illinois was always in trouble. It was always talk about, oh, we should move somewhere else because Illinois is falling apart. I think that's actually pretty typical.
Well, I'm curious to see if this, this is a common, because you often get in debates, or not debates, but you get in discussions, especially with a significant other, and you're kind of figuring out, financially, where a good place would be, but also like, hey, this is a good place to raise kids, this is a good place with schools, stuff like that.
Gary Harris on our Google Hangout comment says go to Alaska. They have no humidity.
Yes, I don't deal well with the cold either, which is ironic, but San Francisco's cold winters are.
Yeah, but it's cold is not freezing cold.
Exactly.
At least not more than a couple days.
It's more like, I took a shower, I didn't dry off, and I'm standing in a wind tunnel. Yeah, I'm just curious. I'm always trying to get a different perspective on that. I know, for example, like my parents, when my parents came over, they came over for school, for education, because that particular level of schooling was not available to them at the time back in Taiwan. And so they came over and both landed white-collar jobs, which is kind of weird because oftentimes you hear first-generation immigrants have to kind of toil. They actually kind of went through school, landed white-collar jobs, and had a relative upper-middle-class life. We tell you about the restaurant, and then that kind of went weird. But yeah, it's just just thinking about that entire process. I'm curious to see what motivates. Like for some people, it's a very easy thing to move. Like it's in their blood. They're open to new experiences. I've had coworkers just like, yeah, I think my 5 years up in my 5 years is up in San Francisco. I'm gonna try somewhere else. Like for them, the whole impetus of it was a new experience, was somewhere else. To go to see to see what's going on, the vibe and all that. For other people, like for you, was school. It's like I went to school here, I landed a job here, and now my life's here. For other people, again, kind of like you, it was a job opportunity. I've if I had an opportunity like I put opportunity in air quotes, like to work for G4 back down in LA, that's sort of an opportunity. If it's something that's worthwhile doing, I'm just kind of feeling it out, so to speak.
I'll be honest. I've never moved to a place, to a location, blind. I've never said like I'm moving to Boston and looking for a job and starting my life over. I know
I don't know how
people who do that. Though.
I don't know how they do that. I would be a nervous, anxiety-ridden wreck. I don't because I need to have things sorted out. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is what's going to happen. If that doesn't work out, I have Plan B. I just,
well, that's the thing. You have to be the kind of person who's willing to deal with the uncertainty of it.
Yes, and some people deal with it better than I. For example, during the Renaissance period, I would not be one of those intrepid explorers on a ship. Like, what am I going to do after my tour on the ship is done? I'm going to go, sell silk or something? I was like...
You wouldn't be out looking for the spice route to India?
It's like, how many times can you do that before you say, I give up. This ocean's way too big. You know that part of the map where they draw the monsters and where they say, here be monsters? Maybe one of those monsters eats me.
Yeah, but it sounds like you would never get out far enough to find out. You'd be like, no, I'm not getting on that ship.
No. I know, 6 miles off the coast, that's it. Say, thanks for the mention, Tom. Oh, nice. Gary Harris says, the guy who mentioned Alaska is saying, thanks for the mention, Tom. I was the Gollum voice a while back on Tech News Today phone call. So it was an odd day.
Yeah. Thanks, Gary. Appreciate that. And Antonio's in the Hangout as well.
Oh, cool.
What's up, Antonio? Good to see you. Should we read? We only got a couple comments on last week's episode.
Oh,
Sean
sure.
Finnerty liked the episode. He liked the mixture of economics, sociology, and meta-government discussed. Though, as a citizen of New York City, he feels that New York is already on the precipice of becoming more autonomous, whether it is becoming the 51st state or more of an autonomous city-state like Singapore, sharing only a currency with the rest of America. The only thing that would be stopping this is inducing and reinforcing status quo corporate media that would continue the counterintuitive notion that a nation of such disparate regions probably should still exist, except it is so much more efficient and profitable to keep it as one country. Ditto goes for China, with 55 ethnic populations and many different native dialects and languages. He continues, a couple months ago, I posted up a comment about the corrupting influence of corporate media, though it was misinterpreted on the next episode as a screed against the commercialization of media, when in reality it was an argument of the inertia against reform or for the status quo. The very best social solutions may not be available for the simple reason that the people that benefit the most in the current paradigm have all the incentive to keep it that way, while any alternative possibility is silenced and kept from the masses for the sake of stability. Sean hits on a point that you'll often hear the followers of Noam Chomsky make, where we have a system that reinforces itself. There's no conspirator at the top organizing or creating it. It's just self-perpetuating.
And it's it happens in so many instances, not with just corporate media, but even down to, say, a municipal level. I mean, there are forces that conspire. Always makes it sound like it's like this incredibly trench coat, hat affair. But like what you're saying, it's just a self-perpetuating. There are forces that mean like whoever's in power, people like that position. I mean, Bell, California was a classic example. The level of corruption in a city council was so endemic, the state had to take it over. And there was discussion whether or not there should be a city of Bell anymore because it was so small, and just to kind of dissolve it. It's funny because oftentimes people go in as agents of change as soon as they find themselves in a very comfortable position. Suddenly don't seem to want to leave it too soon. I mean, it's like, hey, you know what? I like having this. I like having the power. I like having the recognition. I like having the fame that all goes with it. And
combine that with the fact that most people feel that they're doing a much better job at whatever they're doing than other people would be. Why would they leave?
This goes back to the point I was making earlier. It's like people really need to be honest with themselves. You got to be able to look at yourself, from a distant perspective. It's so easy, especially when you're closest. Especially when you have a high assessment of your capabilities. I'm not sure if you ever watched that Simpsons episode where Lisa tries to get all the intelligent people in Springfield to run the city because everyone else in Springfield's too stupid. And essentially what happens is everyone decides that, no, I'm slightly smarter than you are, so I should make all the decisions. And to me, it was a great kind of poke at the whole concept of, well, if only stupid people weren't allowed to vote. If only stupid people were stopped breeding. And, it's like, listen, when it comes down to it, there's a lot of smart people who make really stupid decisions. And there's a lot of maybe not brilliant people, but they make very clever decisions. And it's one of those things that like what you're saying, people like to think that, yeah, I have the wherewithal to do it. I'm honest enough. I'm smart enough. People like me. But, once you get into a position where you have these conflicting forces, suddenly all that breaks down, and all you really care to do is, maintain a low stress level and not be ousted in the next term.
Let's be honest, though. Being honest with yourself is actually incredibly difficult.
Oh, it is.
It's something you have to work at and cultivate and push yourself to do. And most people don't want to do that and don't have any other incentive to do it. There's no one out there getting them to do it.
Maybe that should be like one of those things that you finish right before you graduate high school. You enter like a unlit room where you're just faced with a mirror.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. But
with,
I mean,
with like the ominous music playing as you struggle with who you are, what you are. No.
Yeah, but people, I know, I get what you're saying, but people wouldn't even go that far. They wouldn't put anything up in their own house because they think they're fine.
And the reason why I bring it up is
fine.
It's because I watched Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back, where Luke lands on not Tatooine, the planet where Yoda's living on right at that Dagobah, and he has to go into the cave where the Dark Force is, and he sees the Darth Vader, strikes him down, and the broken mask reveals Luke's face. It's like, oh no, my greatest enemy is myself.
Icebeam also was the other commenter on the last episode, said, speaking of living on the moon, I trust you have noticed they are going to remake Space 1999 Moonbase Alpha as Space 2099. He says, fear it.
One thing I've always noticed about space-themed sci-fi shows or sci-fi shows like Stargate that deal a lot with outer space is everyone wants to go big. Like, let's do the universe. Let's do multiple billions, millions of galaxies. No one's ever really done like a really kind of really tight-knit, like a solar system-based space epic where people really can't travel outside the solar system, but all the events happen within like Uranus, Jupiter, whatever. I mean, you had movies like Outland and what was that anime? Oh crap! I used to not space.
I'm not sure which anime you mean.
Cowboy Bebop. That takes place entirely within the solar system. It'd be kind of neat. It'd be kind of like, okay, yeah, we can't travel past the solar system. If we could only travel within, the 9, 10 planets or whatever we have right now.
That's your criticism of Space 2099?
No, I'm just saying it's no. I'm just saying like in general, I would like to see more of that, where it's not like let's go.
You just did a very common internet commenter faux pas, which is you took someone's comment instead of addressing it, you just went off on your own axe to grind.
Yeah. So, what do you? This isn't self-reflection time, Tom.
What about Space 2989 though? That is the question, Roger Chang. Don't avoid the very important issue on the table.
I don't know anything about it other than
they're remaking it, and as I understand it, they are no longer on the moon, because the idea with Space 1999 was that the moon came out of orbit and they were traveling with the moon. Apparently, it's just a chunk of the moon or something, but they've altered the story, and they've said it in 2099.
2001 and 2010, they were also in space in the solar system. But yes. Yeah. Why can't they be stuck on Io or something, living in an icy, watery world, mining methane or not methane, hydrogen? I want to see one.
It says here science fiction is a powerful format, but it doesn't say what the deal is.
That's kind of vague. It's saying storytelling.
Ionide's got a story about it. It was released in the 70s, blah, 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 blah. The goal of our project is not to replace or alter Space 1999 or its original memory. Our goal is to explore some of the great thought-provoking key axioms and notions that gathered and excited people. So they're trying to do their own deal around it.
So basically, they ran out of ideas, and let's revive an old show. I think they should revive The Ark. That was a show on Sid and Marty Krofft's something hour. And essentially, the last group of survivors on Earth tried to find other survivors in the souped-up futuristic RV.
He says that they're going to be more plausible. It doesn't say exactly what's going to happen. He says, the importance and focus of our story is on plausibility. If something happens in our story, it is very important that the audience feels that it could actually theoretically happen in real life, and that situations and characters evolve in ways that make logical sense. This is going to be a consistent and driving force in Space 2099.
It's going to be funny when they start introducing the dragon people. It's going to be totally plausible.
The dragon people may not show up, and they're definitely not going to be traveling on the moon, because that just isn't plausible. I'm sorry.
Yeah. That's nice. I'm sure they're going to throw a curveball in there. I made a joke about the dragon people, but everyone says I want to make a really scientific, sci-fi show, and the truth of the matter is you've made it super, as super accurate to our understanding of physics or astrophysics, whatever. It'd be kind of dull. I mean, you don't.
That's not true. No, there actually are quite a few novels, science fiction novels, that are considered highly accurate scientifically. And they're quite entertaining. They're quite good. It's like saying it's like what Gene Roddenberry did, where he said you can't have the humans have the conflict. You have to find the conflict elsewhere. It propelled some amazing story writing because that's very difficult.
Except all the aliens started looking like humans with facial deformities.
That's not because of that, though, and that's not what I'm talking about. See, here you go. You're just changing the topic again.
I think Gene Roddenberry was perhaps an early proponent of gene splicing, so people could alter their faces.
Gene splicing?
Get it? And therefore, he would be able to use them as actors on a variety of different show concepts.
You know what? You should read Blue Remembered Earth by Alistair Reynolds.
Okay.
Because it is a story entirely set in the inner solar system, except for near the end, and it is all like it. You have to go to sleep to make it to Mars, because it's a long haul.
It's a 4-month trip.
Yeah, there's none of this like, we came up with the crazy awesome drive that gets you there in a day. No, it's all very much based on current science.
Crazy awesome drive. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to incorporate it in my next unwritten novel.
Creative Commons, non-attribution. Don't even have to attribute it. Just
I'll call it CAD for short.
The CAD, and then you'll reveal later on. Well, what does CAD stand for? Why, Crazy Awesome Drive, of course. It was created by a scientist named Crazy Awesome, Oussossum.
Yeah. Crazy Merit Awesome.
His father named him Crazy. It was a weird time in the 2060s. Ha ha ha.
Yeah. 2060s. You know, I bet you someone's going to do that. They're going to do a weird 1960s show, but based in 2060s, so it'll be all futuristic.
Yeah. All right, well, that leads us to the end of East Meets West number 281. Thank you for joining us. Just so you know, you, of course, can still get us at sobrilliant.com/EMW, and you can leave us your comments. We do like to have them to talk about on the show. You can also go to YouTube. I think it's youtube.com/AceDetect, where you can see the recorded version of our Google Hangout. I'm double-checking that. Yeah. youtube.com/AceDetect, and that takes you to some of my videos. Where's the East Meets West video? Okay, that may be wrong. Just search East Meets West on YouTube. You'll find it. And you can also look for us if you're on Google+. Whenever we record, which is irregular, it's not the same time, you can go into our Google+ broadcast hangout and watch us as we do it live. So keep your eyes out for us there.
Do it live.
We'll see you next time.
Bye. No, I have